morning. My name is Simon Day. I currently serve as Vice President for Education at Leeds City Toastmasters. It's my privilege to address you this morning. A story is told of two woodcutters standing side by side at the beginning of a day's work. One was a large, powerful, strong man. The second, smaller, quieter, but a hard worker. They'd been cutting wood side by side for many a month. But the powerful, strong woodcutter turned to his smaller compadre and said to him, "Let's make today more interesting. I'll wager that because I'm big and strong, I can cut more wood than you today. Let's get to the end of the day and see." Second woodcutter quietly nodded his affirmation, and the day's work began. The bigger man would swing with all his might to cut down the trees and start to separate them into logs. He had immense power, and he would smile to himself as the second woodcutter would quietly chop away at what he was doing. After about 45 minutes of the day's work, the larger man looked to his left and saw that the second woodcutter had disappeared. He'd gone. 15 minutes later, at the end of the hour, he returned from the trees and silently began his work again. And so the day progressed, that every hour, 45 minutes in, the smaller woodcutter would disappear into the trees and would return 15 minutes later. The bigger woodcutter smiled to himself and said, "Well, he's wasting 15 minutes of every hour. Of course I'm going to cut more wood." The sun moved through the sky and the afternoon drew late. And it was time for the two men to take stock of how much they'd cut. The bigger woodcutter was astonished when he realised that the smaller man, who had spent 15 minutes of every hour in the woods, had cut exactly the same amount of wood in the same time. It then begged the question to the smaller woodcutter, what were you doing for those 15 minutes every hour when you disappeared into the trees? The smaller woodcutter said with a small smile, "I was sharpening my axe." It was then that each woodcutter realised that the other held something of equal value. The bigger man had strength and zeal and enthusiasm. The smaller woodcutter had skill and knowledge and insight. What I hope to share with you this morning, in the time that we have together, I hope to provide something of an answer to a fundamental question. How do we teach our new, prospective and existing members the value of A, developing strength and zeal and enthusiasm, and B, sharpening their axes to gain skill and insight and wisdom? Because the two things hand in hand can have an incisive impact. Not in wood, but in lives. But to begin, I need to take you back a few years, to 2015, a time when I still mistakenly thought that being ginger was the biggest problem I had in my life. It was then I came to realise that I couldn't speak to other people. I didn't know what my voice sounded like. I would tremble, and I would shake, and I would lack effectiveness. I felt, and forgive me for dropping the 4-letter F-bomb in this room, I felt fear. There are 4 main reasons, I believe, as to why somebody experiences fear, particularly in public speaking. One is the fear of failure. It's the fear of getting it wrong, of making a mistake. There is previous experience. How many of you have had a bad experience with public speaking at some point in your life? Raise your hand, please. Be honest. Oh, that's a lot more than half the room. Those experiences affect us. Of course they do. But they need not define us. There is a difference. Adequacy, measuring up, that we're good enough, that we can have that impact, that we can change somebody's life. That can hold somebody back from any number of things. And then there is the fear of ridicule, of embarrassment, of people judging us, making comments about us, what they think about us. All of these things also matter. I went to my first Toastmasters meeting in August of 2015. Sheer, unbridled panic. But what I had was a desire to improve, to change, to overcome the struggle that I was facing. I saw members get up and perform roles and give speeches, and I sat in that audience on that meeting and I thought to myself, wow, I would love someday to be able to do that. At the time, I'd never thought I could. We might have experienced those previous setbacks that mean that we don't have that desire. We need to try and work and cultivate it as we watch the achievements of others that then lights our own fire. I joined the club because I realised the value that it added. I'm a tight Yorkshireman. I evaluate everything by cost, time, and what it gives me. Cost-benefit analysis. How much will it cost me? How much time will it take? What will it give? A couple of hours every fortnight, £12.50 a month, overcoming a fear and getting better at public speaking, count me in. And so I joined the club. And I started to get involved with roles and speeches, and I realised the impact that it was having. And that cultivated my dedication and then my diligence. Working hard, overcoming setbacks, being attentive to that feedback that I received, implementing it in my future speeches. Serving on the committee, which I've now done consecutively for the last 3 years. But then we get to this point. And this is the point that every member of Toastmasters will experience at some stage of their journey. Either they will tell you about it, or they'll keep quiet. And it's the ones that keep quiet about it that we have to watch for. Continued mentoring. We've talked about that already today. Support from the club. Yes, it's good to talk to somebody at a meeting, but how lovely would it be if a member who perhaps struggled with a role at a meeting got an email a few days later from some concerned member of a Toastmasters club to say, I saw you on Thursday, you were so brave to take on that role, well done. I know it must have been difficult for you. How did you find it? How are you feeling now? How can we help you to take on your next role? What would that do for somebody who maybe struggled initially? This is my beautiful wife. We've been married for 6 years. This is Laura. And we have a 3-year-old son, Elias, at the top there. And in September we welcomed Nellie, who's now 4 months old. They exist in my life every day as a constant reminder by providing feedback. Nellie's feedback is screamed at 3 AM in the morning when she wants milk. But Elias is starting to parrot now. And if we say something to each other or to him and he repeats it, that's instant feedback of how you're doing as a parent. And I started to think, how can we get this kind of instant feedback into Toastmasters clubs in a more effective way? Goodness knows I'd love to, but I'm not going to give you my children. How can we capture what's just taken place and store it for a longer period of time than just the verbal feedback or the written slips that are given? What else can we do? Well, at Leeds City Toastmasters, we've bought a camera. Now, not all clubs have the money to do this, but all members have phones, and a tripod for a phone is very cheap, and there are solutions available. I would recommend, and we've started to do this at our club, capturing people's speeches or roles by prior arrangement. Say to them, would you like us to film your speech? Would you like us to film your role? And then they can take that away. As a video file transferred from a laptop or as a private YouTube video, it can be uploaded, and they can have it, and they can watch it back, and they can be their own evaluator. And they can say, that bit I did quite well, that bit I think I need to work on. That camera at the back is filming me now. Guaranteed tonight I'll be watching this back, thinking, what could I change? But I've got that video now, and it will last. If there is facility to do this in your club, I would invite you to investigate as a committee. Can we implement something like this to make sure our members have their speeches and their roles recorded. We have Elite City Toastmasters YouTube channel, and this extends further because you know that Pathways was introduced about a year ago. You know that it's a technological headache at times. You know that it's difficult to navigate. I'm having that same struggle, but what do? When I experience something or I learn something new, I put a video on YouTube. If you feel that this can support your own club, search our YouTube channel and watch the videos that I've produced. Hopefully these will help, but maybe in time you might start your own YouTube channels. Rather than repeating the same set of instructions or guidance to members time and time again, why not just say to them, please go and watch our video. This will provide additional support. It's efficient, it's accessible, and it means that members can know exactly what it is they need to do. If you'd have asked me this morning, could I recite that to you? My answer would have been no. Do we know this well? Is it visible in our clubs? Do we refer to it often? People will very unlikely meet expectations that are not set and are not clarified. I've printed and laminated it. It's going up in our club now every week, and I look at it. And I remind myself of what I held myself to when I signed that document. Do all members who join our clubs know intimately what it is they'll be committing to do? And are they reminded of it frequently? Taking on roles was a terrifying part of my Toastmasters journey at the start. I worried about it. I dare say I lost sleep over it. And I thought, how wonderful would it be if there was some kind of document that outlined exactly what that role entails, exactly what's needed, so that I can read it and get very familiar before I even take it on. I cured my own problem by producing the documents. So now, a new member joins the club, and shortly afterwards, we hold them to that Toastmasters promise, and we say, thank you for joining our club. Wonderful to have you as a new member. We believe you can add value to what it is that we're doing. Soon in your Toastmasters journey, you may wish to take on a role at a meeting to be involved with our club. Here attached to this email is a set of documents that outlines exactly what is needed for each role. We'd recommend you start out with a smaller role, perhaps like the grammarian or the art counter, to get used to this. But please read these documents, and if you have any questions, please let us know. But we would like to book you in to be the grammarian at the next meeting. Please review it, and if you need support, please let us know. Now that's a positive and encouraging tone. And Paul, my friend here, has often shared with me a quote that says that a good leader takes people where they want to go. A great leader takes people where they don't want to go, but where they need to go. That's very different. Are we taking our members where they don't want to go, but where they need to go? I promise I didn't talk to Jane before this meeting, but Jane mentioned having a grid prepared for the general evaluator so that they know through the meeting which roles to evaluate, what to write, where to write it. In the last couple of weeks, and these will soon be implemented at our club, I've produced such documents for several roles: grammarian, art counter, timekeeper, general evaluator. Again, the people taking on these roles can have these documents and can use them throughout the meeting to make their notes on. Makes it very clear, very visible, and very easy to follow. Please bear in mind that people will be struggling with various anxieties, or at the end of a long working day, they might just not be up to the demand of a role without that scaffold in place. But if we put it in place, then we can help them and support them with the smooth and efficient execution of that role. Do members know the difference between EasySpeak, toastmasterclub.org, and the Toastmasters International website? A lot of mine don't, and that's been alarming to me recently. Do they know that if they go to my participation, they can reach their Pathways Basecamp through EasySpeak? Do they know that that's a shortcut that they can follow, so they don't have to be mixed up with the two websites? Have they been shown how to access their path? There is a YouTube video I've recently produced on that very subject, so if people are struggling to take their initial assessment, to the first path, or take their first speech, and that's their fault. It comes back to these things. This cycle will repeat itself many times during a Toastmasters journey. But it's at this point at the bottom here that we have to catch people, or sometimes even preempt it, and put something in place so that people don't become discouraged. Are we as leaders setting the example? Have we produced these videos? Do we regularly share with our members what our why is? In closing, I would like to share one element of my why and invite you to perhaps consider it. Last year I had the privilege of working with a government-funded program called NCS, the National Citizen Service. Every year, aspiring young people who are preparing to independently live from home and go to university take part in a 3-week residential over the summer, in which they go to university halls, practice independent living, and take part in many workshops. There is paid opportunity for public speaking coaches, for mentors, for workshop directors. It was a wonderful thing to be involved in last year and helped me to inspire young people, so that when young people become older, they don't suffer the same anxiety that I felt. I have resources at the back I would invite you to take for your clubs. This is a wonderful opportunity for Toastmasters. The regional director said to me last year, "You seem very well suited to this role. You seem to really enjoy it. Where do you get your transferable skills from?" The first sentence of my reply had the word Toastmasters in it. I would invite you to consider taking this for yourself or for your clubs and to get involved with this program. Yes, it's a paid opportunity, but it's a chance to spread those ripples even further. As we leave today, ladies and gentlemen, I hope the one thing that we'll evaluate above all others is our own practice. Is there something that we could change, do a little bit differently? Is there somebody that we know we need to reach out to? If we will consider this, next time we get dropped into our workplaces, into our communities, into our families, into our Toastmasters clubs, we will spread ripples. And perhaps those ripples will spread further and for longer, for us having been here today and have acted upon the principles that have been shared.